Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
It would have been good to know that before I had all my money frozen, put on a no-fly list, banned from everything, lost all banking and payment processing.
All right. Welcome back to the library. I'm recording this after the presidential debate, and we might be able to talk about it later. What'd you think about it? Leave me a comment. But right now, you saw the intro. Why would world infamous white nationalist Nick Fuentes be so upset? He now knows that he's been lied to by his idol. Big ripoff. White nationalist Nick Fuentes blasts Trump for admitting he lost the 2020 election. In addition to being a Hitler-loving racist, misogynist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, Christian nationalist fascist, white nationalist Nick Fuentes was also deeply involved in the Stop the Steal movement following the 2020 election and was outside the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th insurrection. While Fuentes was once a zealous supporter of former President Donald Trump and even dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago in 2024, the adoration has since faded, partially because Trump tapped Senator J.D. Vance, who has a non-white, non-Christian wife, as his running mate. Recently, Fuentes openly declared war on Trump, on the Trump campaign, vowing to deploy activists in swing states for the purpose of depriving Trump of votes. I don't know, man. Nick sounds upset. Let's see if we can figure out why Nick would be so upset.
He's admitting, he says, oh, I lost by a whisker. So what was the point? Like, what's the point of any of it? You lost in 2020? Seriously? I mean, what are we even doing anymore? Then you're a loser. Then you're a loser. You just lost. Then you lost to Joe Biden. You deserve to be charged. If he admits that he lost, then that actually vindicates the DOJ charge against him. Because the charge is that he knew he lost, but he lied to defraud the people. That's the DOJ's charge. So why did we do Stop the Steal? Why did anyone go to January 6th? Why is anyone sitting in jail? Why did anything bad happen to anybody? Why did everyone get censored? Why is everything bad that has happened to the people that are involved, why did that need to happen if you're just going to walk it all back and say, oh, I lost? Well, it would have been good to know that before 1,600 people got charged. It would have been good to know that before I had all my money frozen, put on a no-fly list, banned from everything, lost all banking and payment processing. Would have been good to know that before I, in 2017, dedicated my life to this as an 18-year-old in college. Just feels like a big ripoff. And don't get me wrong, I'm an adult. It's not whining. I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying you can't say those things for that reason. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't regret anything, and we all make our choices. And look, it didn't work out. It is what it is. So I'm not mad saying I want those years back. I want those decisions back. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that just goes to show what a tremendous betrayal it is. It's just such a callous indifference to the sacrifices that his supporters made on his behalf.
None of this is new information. This information was already out there. He had already admitted that he lost. And so did his campaign and cabinet members. But you didn't want to listen to the facts. Just the damn liar that kept distorting them.
Only as a politician. I never debated. My first debate was the Rosie O'Donnell debate, right? The famous Rosie O'Donnell debate, the answer. But I've done well with debates. I mean, I became president. Then the second time I got millions more votes than I got the first time. So I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that and lost by a whisker. And look
See? He said it.
But wait, there's more.
I said to him, you got to pay $5 billion. He said, no, no, no. We had a deal. He was going to pay $5 billion, $5 billion a year. But when I didn't win the election, he had to be the happiest. I would rate probably South Korea third or fourth happiest. China, Iran, Russia. Russia. He said to me, "You're killing me with the pipeline." So he had a deal. Would have happened, all set. And then when the election was rigged and lost, what happened is that the deal went away.
He lost the election and then it was rigged and lost.
Very shortly after the election, the Trump campaign recognized that they had likely lost the election, and they informed Donald Trump of that fact. Even before the networks called the race for President Biden on November 7th, his chances of pulling out a victory were virtually non-existent, and President Trump knew it.
Do you know if anybody ever told the president that he had lost and that there wasn't a chance of him winning?
I know that the president, when the networks called it, of course, he was informed about the network decision. That afternoon, at some point, myself and a handful of other folks went over and sat down with the president and communicated that the odds of us prevailing in legal challenges were very small.
You know, after the election, as of November 7th, in your judgment, what were the chances of President Trump winning the election?
After that point?
Yes.
None.
At times, President Trump acknowledged the reality of his loss. Although he publicly claimed that he had won the election, privately, he admitted that Joe Biden would take over as president. Here's a few examples of that.
So we're in the Oval and there's a discussion going on. And the president says, I think it could have been Pompeo, but he says words to the effect of, yeah, we lost, we need to let that issue go to the next guy, meaning President Biden.
I remember maybe a week after the election was called, I popped into the Oval just to give the president the headlines and see how he was doing. And he was looking at the TV and he said, "Can you believe I lost to this effing guy?"
Mark raised it with me on the 18th. And so following that conversation, we're the motorcade ride driving back to the White House. And I said, does the president really think that he lost? And he said, a lot of times he'll tell me that he lost, but he wants to keep fighting it. And he thinks that there might be enough to overturn the election, but he pretty much has acknowledged that he's lost.
Knowing that he had lost and that he had only weeks left in office, President Trump rushed to complete his unfinished business.
Given all of that evidence, the only question I really have left is,
who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?
Look, if you're going to be a white nationalist jerk, you could pick a much better role model than to follow Trump. I mean, he told you he was lying to your faces.
Lost by a whisker.
And you called the rest of us whiny crybabies. You don't have to listen to me, though. I'm just a guy named Ed. Listen, if you have a question, a comment, a criticism, just hit me up at WellAJustEd@gmail.com or leave a comment down below. Either way, I'm certain I'll get to. But I want to hear from you. Let's make this more powerful than it is right now. Hit the subscribe button. Let your friends know. I think it's a good idea.